Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We have a very special guest, casting icon. I'm not going to tell you until I say the names of some of the shows. Animal Kingdom, Shameless, Southland, West Wing, ER, SEAL Team, China Beach for some of you who will know that incredible show. Please help me welcome and pay great attention to the great John Frank Levey. John.
Hi, everybody.
So happy you're here. This is such an incredible give back for everyone listening.
I hope Aaron Sorkin's not listening because he needs to call it the West Wing.
Oh, shoot. My bad.
Are you? Yeah, well, he's not. I'm sure he's busy.
Well, the thing is, yeah, but you got to respect the writer. The writer comes first, in my opinion. Okay, so John, I said John Frank Levey because that's how you're listed, but I just call you John Levey. I don't know. Anyway, tell us, please just fill everyone in with how you began in this crazy business. How many shows have you cast already? And then I want to get into the details of casting, okay?
Sure. Well, there really is no one way to get into casting. There's no school and there's no, training program. Although I think now the Casting Society does have a mentorship and training program for people. But when I started, I was directing in the theater. I had the NEA Directors Fellowship at the Mark Taper Forum in 1979, or maybe it was 1980, something like that. And I'm lying slightly. I say I had the NEA Directors Fellowship because Gordon Davidson, the artistic director there, invited me to have the NEA Directors Fellowship, but the grant writer who worked for him missed the deadline. So I had some unnamed fellowship.
Oh, okay.
And I was at the Taper doing readings of new plays and assisting on the main stage and directing in their literary cabaret and in their second stage and various other venues, not on the main stage. But I had a fantastic 3 years at the Taper, where I actually learned about that there was such a thing as a casting director. I worked with the casting director and somebody from the literary department on a series of new play readings, maybe 15 of them a year. And that was where I got a chance to see the importance of casting.
Wow, yes. But what were you doing there? You were always behind the scenes, or were you in front of the scenes?
No, I was assisting on the main stage to the directors. I was doing those readings. I was participating in, I was directing productions in secondary venues. They had a literary cabaret at a restaurant down the street called the Itchy Foot, but it was, I worked in their second stage, Taper 2, and their new play festival, and it was a fantastic experience.
Well,
a dream come true.
Yes, absolutely. And theater, and I'm sure you're going to tell actors out there how important this training of theater is, and then coming into the television world. And I'm sure you feel that way because there's just, I don't know. In theater, to me, there's just so much richness in the writing and then learning the layering of the characters. Do you agree?
Sure, absolutely. And getting the direct interaction with the audience, which you obviously don't get in film and television, and also the continuity of starting at the beginning and going through until you get to the end. That's as opposed to doing a 30-second setup on a soundstage. It's a whole, I mean, the interior work is the same, but the flow and the muscle is entirely different. And the muscle of doing the play is so crucial to develop.
You love actors, and I've known you for many years, and you have just created such an incredible career for yourself. So what was that first job? So you went from doing behind the scenes and assistant directing and maybe even some directing, and then you went into television. What happened?
I directed a play by A.R. Gurney Jr. called The Dining Room, which I'm sure lots of you know.
Yeah.
It's a good play to do scenes from in class. And for the first time in my life, I experienced, I don't know if I'd call it failure, but a negative response.
Oh.
And I went out for a drink after an early performance, after the reviews came out, with a casting director named Barbara Clayman.
Oh my
And she
goodness.
said, if you're going to take it this hard, kid, you better come and work for me. So I went to work for Barbara as her casting associate, and we did commercials, we did television pilots, we did live theater, and we did feature films. And Barbara was quite a unique character, and it was exciting to work with her. And after a period of time, maybe 18 months, my dear friend from college, who stage managed a lot of the plays I directed, who I'm having drinks with in her driveway this evening,
What?
her name is Eileen Berg. She was an executive at ABC Television for many years.
Okay.
And she introduced me to a legendary casting director. You said I was, but she really was, Marcia Kleinman.
Yeah,
And,
she was, but so were you. But yes, go ahead. Yes.
and Marcia hired me, and I went to work for her, and we did a lot of movies for television when they were on network, Hallmark Hall of Fame movies, and like that, as well as some series and a couple of features, including Whoopi Goldberg's Burglar, which was great fun.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was great fun because Marcia said to me, bring in a great actress you know from the theater to read the scenes for the female lead, and that way we'll learn what the part should be like, and then she won't get it, but she, we'll figure out what we're looking for. And then, of course, I brought in a wonderful theater actress named Elizabeth Ruscio, who's now a published poet as well as an actress, and Elizabeth got the part.
Well, to me, as an acting coach and a recovering actor, coming from theater, you really learn so much, and it resonates, and the work is most important. Now, I know it's not always about the best auditioner who gets the job, the best actor, and so many other elements go into it, but theater training to me is everything. It gives you substance, it gives you core, it gives you the training. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely do. I mean, it's slightly different because the theater demands more of you. You start at the beginning and you end at the end every week, every night. And whereas in film and television, you might be doing a 40-second setup, and all you have to do is hit 2 or 3 beats and make one sort of transition or turn.
Yeah.
But getting from A to Z is something that theater actors know how to do. And it's an enormously valuable training.
And it makes you just more knowledgeable, and being well read is so crucial.
Absolutely.
Even when you're coming into television, it's a little bit more linear, but to have the depth.
Yeah, I agree, Shari, because the thing about actors, if you're a piano player, you have the 88 keys and they are in tune theoretically. So if you hit the 14th one from the right, it's going to sound the same every time. But if you're an actor, you're the instrument and the player at the same time. And the way you get to be an interesting instrument is by having an interesting life. If you have a narrow life, you can only be as interesting as you actually are. If you're sort of a narrow person who hasn't had a lot of different experiences, then you don't have a lot to draw on. You can, of course, use your imagination, which is the other approach. And sometimes you can have limited experience and a huge amount of imagination, and that can carry you through. But acting is you are what you've done and who you've known and what made you cry and what made you laugh, what made you feel triumphant and what made you feel like shit.
Yes. And I talk about it in my book that your pain pit is your power pit. And, you know, you could be an actress that can do, or an actor that plays the lightest characters, but it comes from that core, and that core is what makes, I agree with you 1,000%. That's what makes you interesting and vivacious.
Yeah, completely.
So your first job alone after working with Barbara Clayman was what? What was
Well,
that?
actually, I went from from Barbara to Marcia, and then
Mhm.
I got recommended to join the staff at Warner Brothers Television under a wonderful woman named Phyllis Huffman.
Yes.
Uh, all three of those women, I think, are gone. I'm not sure about Barbara, but Marcia and Phyllis are both gone. I
Mhm.
had nothing to do with it, please. Uh, and I worked with Phyllis. I actually did a pilot there with Tim Matheson that
Ah,
he was the executive producer of, and we cast Annette Bening as
ah,
the female lead.
really?
And because she was just coming off Broadway, where she had done a play that I can't remember at the moment, and then somehow it didn't work between Tim and Annette was replaced.
Wow.
So I'm one of my early things that I'm noted for is that I was on a project that fired Annette Bening.
Brilliant actress, which is to say for all the actors out there, you can't quit if you're fired. You just, it's like, it happens to the best.
Yeah,
The
I
best
mean,
of the best.
I hope nobody will hear me, but she was fired because Tim wasn't funny.
Woo! Yeah, people are going to hear this. They are going to hear it.
Oh
Wow.
well,
Oh, well,
just
that's okay.
don't tell Tim.
Okay, I won't. I won't. That's a secret. Whoever listens to this, don't tell Tim. Okay, so then after that, what?
Well, after that, the first really big project, I did it with Phyllis Huffman, although she mostly supervised me and made sure I was doing things the way she liked it. But a project that came onto my plate that was perfect for me. You know, I think there are projects that are perfect for directors and writers and casting people as well as actors. You know, this was China Beach, and it took place
Please
in.
let me just say, it was one of the best shows that was ever, and your eye and your casting was impeccable.
Well, thank you.
Thank
It was an amazingly good script,
Oh,
you know, it took place in the war in Vietnam, but it took place in the war in Vietnam. It wasn't a war picture. It was a picture about the women who
hmm.
were there. One was Dana Delaney, who played a nurse, and the other was Marg Helgenberg, who played a fixer, I guess we'd call her in this day and age. She could get
Brilliant.
anything for
Yeah.
anybody. And then there was a young woman from Chicago who has since left the business, um, named Nan Woods, who played what they called a donut dolly, which was a Red Cross volunteer.
I loved her.
And yeah, she was great. Chloe Webb was in the pilot, and she was
Brilliant.
fresh, fresh off Sid and Nancy, which scared the hell out of the television executives.
Wow.
Because, you know, in the whole picture, she basically says, "Fuck you, Sid," about 150 times.
But she's brilliant. Like that whole cast was brilliant. But can I interject something? When you have such a good eye. So when those actors came in a long time ago, and we're going to talk about how the business has changed, what was it about their entering the room or just being embodied in the character that resonated with you, that you went, they're special, they're going to get that role?
Well, you never know who's going to get it. You can hope that of the five people you think are most right, that one of them gets it. I had met Dana when I worked for Marcia,
Mhm.
um, a movie of the week about two brothers, James Woods and James Garner. Woods played the schizophrenic brother, and Garner played a sort of ladies' man star of a small town who was taking care of his crazy brother. And Dana came in for a part, um, and she tells this story much better than I did. She told it one year at the Casting Society dinner. But the part was uh, Garner made a joke, and Dana's character, who's sitting across the room on a couch, laughs and kind of tumbles out of the couch and crawls across the room up into Garner's lap and kisses him. And she actually did that, which I don't recommend. But since my marriage was falling apart at the time, it was welcome. And she tells the story. Find a heterosexual casting director, kiss him, wait 5 years, get the lead in a series.
That is so funny. People don't know how funny you are, John. You are so funny. Oh my God. The way you tell a story is so funny. But that is incredible. I don't recommend that either, but you know what? Sometimes, don't you think sometimes that impulse, that just being in that moment pays off?
Absolutely. I mean, I think violating the bubble around the casting director is almost always a terrible idea. But somehow you certainly have to play the moment of the falling off the couch and the kiss.
Yes.
Even if you don't actualize it.
Right. I think she went a little bit extreme, but hey, it worked.
It certainly did. And the thing about Dana that was so wonderful in that part was that she was everybody's sister, everybody's daughter,
yes.
everybody's favorite niece. And she combined selflessness, generosity, innocence, and service. And she was fantastic. Marg, on the other hand, was spectacular. And it's always very funny because I think in real life, Dana is more like the character that Marg played, and Marg is more like the character that Dana played.
I love it.
But their qualities, the things that they sort of embody, were right for the characters that they did play.
I thought they were so, if you guys out there listening have not seen that show, you have to. It's so many years old, but it's timeless, and the work is incredible. And John, I really do have to say, every show that you cast, it's freaking amazing casting. Amazing.
There have been some real bummers as well over the 30-something years.
Oh, well, of course, but on the majority of it all, I mean, The West Wing, ER. I mean, come on. I mean, even currently, Animal Kingdom.
And Southland, which was one of my very favorite shows to cast, and we've had even 11 years now. We're shooting season 11 of Shameless, which is still a revelation. You get to page 26 in the script, and you go, "You're kidding me! We can say that? We can do that?"
Crazy, and such an amazing cast. Of course, my neighbor is one of the main writers on that show, who I love her so much. Nancy, Nancy. Yeah, but just amazing on all those shows. And I know we're talking about China Beach, but I want to segue into you, and for actors listening, what to expect when they're walking in the room for John Levey, or nowadays when they're getting cast off Zoom, what to do on their tapes that are going to be intriguing for you, because everyone's opinion is different.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time making the adjustment to self-tapes and Zooms as the only way that people can audition. And I'm sad to say that until there's a vaccine, I don't think you're going to be walking into a room. And by then, the habit of self-tapes and Zoom will have become entrenched, and I think it will dominate the audition process. And I think that is terrible. The interaction, as I think you'll remember, Shari, I love to play the fool and the joker in the waiting room with a group of actors to keep them loose. There might be 20 people sitting in my waiting room, and we go pretty quickly, but at the same time, we give full attention and as much time as is merited to the actor when it's their time in the room. So I'm always bouncy and upbeat and self-deprecating, and try to make a joke to keep everybody loose and not ratcheting up the crazy tension that actors can subject themselves to.
Well, too, because of the people pleasing, and plus the want to do well. Plus, John, you're intimidating. You're intimidating because you care. You care
Yeah,
so
I
much.
hope I'm not intimidating to actors. I'm intimidating to your agents and your managers, and I mean to be.
Oh, good, good,
But I want to be welcoming and nurturing
good.
and encouraging to actors. For one thing, I want you to succeed so I can go home and have dinner, with my friends, or in the days when you could have dinner with friends.
Yes, yes.
So, it's in my best interest. I don't want to stay in the office till 9 o'clock that night, figuring out a session for tomorrow because this session stunk.
Yes.
But on to the Zooming and the self-taping.
Yes.
I think it's really important for you to set up a room that works. Like right now, you look wonderful, but this would be a lousy environment for
Oh,
self-tape
of
because
course.
there's this distracting visual stuff behind you that
Yes.
is taking me away from your face. So a clean, I think, blue
Yes. Blue.
sheet up against a wall, and to make damn sure that your sound system works. I get auditions now, and I have my volume all the way up on my computer or my device, and I can't hear a goddamn thing. Or I can
Wow.
hear the reader and not the actor who's auditioning.
That is shocking to me. And it's so funny because for our setup, I was going to be on my stage at my office with the background and everything. But then I was like, I got to be comfortable with John Levey today. I got to just hang out here at my desk. But when people don't have a proper sound system, that is the killer of all killers.
Oh,
And plus,
horrible.
obviously, you're not going to have this background. You're going to have that clean background. Yes.
Yeah.
But
I
people,
mean, my producers aren't going to be able to work that hard to hear you. They're going to shut. You're like they have a human clicker in their hand, and as soon as it's hard, they
yeah,
disappear.
next.
Yep,
Next.
exactly.
But how do people actually submit tapes to you with bad sound and lighting
Yeah,
and the two most important things?
absolutely. Yeah, they
Wow,
do.
that is astounding to me. And everyone that studies at my studio knows otherwise. And I just can't believe that people just take it for granted that they just think that just having their name in front of you is going to be enough. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. Also, I know we ran into some problems getting people approved in this last go round of Shameless,
Mm.
and partly it was because I got a wonderful email from my boss, from John Wells, and he said, I don't hear your voice working with these actors between
Oh,
takes. Are they just doing self-tapes at home, or are you doing Zooms with them?
ah,
And I had to acknowledge that we were just basically curating self-tapes. And he said, I know you can fix these auditions that are missing something in tone.
mm.
When you get down to 2 or 3 people for a part, please do Zoom callbacks. And we have started doing that now. And it's heartwarming to see the smiles on actors' faces when they interact with me and my 2 wonderful associates.
Oh,
Um, and it brings back the fun,
yes,
because
of course.
I'm not a curator of auditions. I'm a person who likes to get in the mud with the pigs.
Yes, but you do love the artistry, and you understand in your directorial, abilities of how to direct and make it concise and help actors give that beginning, middle, and end. And believe me,
Sure.
I know I sat years ago in that Warner Brothers waiting room, but it was nerve-wracking, but so exciting. There was so much energy, and you wait in that long hallway, and then John, you would come out and get us, and you'd walk, do into your gorgeous office. But it was invigorating, and
Well, those were really wonderful days. We had 13 casting directors
yeah,
on one long L-shaped hallway, and we were always laughing and stealing each other's actors and getting along so well. And then out of those days came Friends and ER, and 2 of the most important television shows that Warner Brothers ever produced, and certainly, and you could argue that they're 2 of the 10 most important television shows ever on network television.
agreed,
And
100%.
and those iconic stars, my God, what they've gone on to do is remarkable.
I do have to say for actors out there that I'm sorry that you did not have that experience at Warner Brothers, and it tears me up a little bit because those were such incredible days for actors. It was a camaraderie. There was something over there with all those casting directors. You go down one, you say hello to somebody. It was the doors were more open, it felt like. Do you?
Yeah, I agree completely. I always regret that I didn't do this because there was a waiting room before you got to the hallway, and
Yeah.
I wanted to have the receptionist take a photograph every 20 minutes of who was in the waiting room,
Oh,
because it would be 7-year-old boys with no front teeth and 300-pound women in motorcycle gear
oh,
and clowns and people
great.
dressed up as in sexy leading men and women clothing, and it would change
Yes.
every 20 minutes. A different group of actors would be sitting there. It's one of the only things I regret about my career is that I didn't do that, because it would be a fabulous photographic essay.
It would also be an incredible documentary, because there are no documentaries on the life of casting directors, which, side note, I do think that the appreciation for casting directors is getting so much more acknowledged, but I don't think it has been for years and years.
Well, there
And
was a fantastic documentary called Casting By, which was about the legendary feature casting director, Marion Doherty.
I've never seen that.
It's spectacular.
Oh,
I'm on the cutting room floor because they decided to only talk about people who worked in features. But I did a lengthy interview. So I empathize with you actors who I was looking for feedback and I couldn't get it.
no, see, yes, then actors suffer. Can't you just tell them? Do you ever tell them in the room or on Zoom or right away if they're going to get a call back? Because actors suffer over that, John. What
Sometimes I do.
you
Yeah.
do? What is it that just right away? Physical, emotional work, storytelling, close the deal, connects with you, call back.
All of that stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's about, uh, for one thing, some people are more, I was a lousy actor because I didn't know who I was personally myself at 25 when I first came out here to California. So I couldn't reveal myself because I was busy hiding myself in
Yeah.
my life and in my work.
Mm-hmm.
So I can always tell an actor who is comfortable revealing themselves in public. It's
Yeah.
what teacher was it? Was it Strasberg who said private moments, and then somebody augmented it and said private moments in public.
Yes.
And there has to be a little bit of an exhibitionist in a really great actor. They have to want to be emotionally naked. I always say there are two kinds of actors: the ones that say I have to, and the ones that say I get to.
Oh, I love that. And vulnerability is key. It's your vulnerability. It's your oddness. It's what makes you you that is going to come out and shine through.
That's all you have is your own uniqueness.
So let me ask you something. When actors, this is pre-COVID questions, obviously, because you're not going to get that now. But when actors would come in the room and would get nervous and falter, and you could see it, but you saw something else that was taking over, do you work with them, or would that cause a mistrust to call back for the executive producers to be on the show? What's your feeling on that?
Well, it is information,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not positive information. If you don't have control of yourself, and you can't rely on your craft to overcome your nervousness,
Mm-hmm.
then that's telling. I try very hard to say, hey, let's take it again, take a deep breath. You're on the right track, but you're kind of getting in your own way, and try to be encouraging if I have time.
Yes.
Yeah. Being lovely to people is always dependent on what level of pressure you're under as well. And so if you have the time to be lovely, we try very hard to do that. But it is totally uncomfortable to watch an actor crash and burn.
Oh God, it's so painful. And it's also painful to be that actor crashing and burning. So actors out there, take care of yourself. But I think if actors are really in the story and what they want and what they're giving, they're going to be so caught up in their thoughts and they're not going to sponge off, pleasing and getting caught in their head.
Right, exactly. And I mean, if they're in the character's thoughts and needs and intentions and desires, then they'll be fine. If they're thinking, oh, fuck, I said the wrong word in the last sentence, or that reads in your eyes. I mean, everything
Body.
reads in your eyes.
Yeah, everything. Okay, so you'll give a little, but you know what actors really don't understand about casting directors, I think, is the pressure that you have. You have pressure. You're having voices from the executives to tell you what they're looking for, and there's a time limit to find those roles. So, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And often, especially in a pilot or in a new show, the casting is where the differences of opinion about what the show should be get worked out. The studio might think one thing, and the creator might think another thing, and the network might want another thing, and that conflict gets resolved in the casting process. And so, and you can't please, sometimes you can't please everybody because somebody's got to win. And if I've been very lucky to be working with John Wells for such a long time, because when he says to a network executive or a studio executive, I appreciate your note and thank you for thinking about it carefully, but the thing that's important to me about this character is A, B, and C, then that's what it is.
Interesting. So
when you're working with a novice producer who doesn't have clout, then the studio executives and the network executives feel as though they have to rescue that person with their level of experience, and so often their ideas dominate, and sometimes that changes the intention of the piece to the detriment of the piece.
I agree a lot of times, because there's a lot of times where in my coaching days, I've coached so many wonderful pilots, and then they don't get picked up because they've too many voices, just too many voices got in the way, and the vision gets ruined. So as a casting director, this is for people who don't know. So you will what is the process? You're going to be handed a script, but you've been working with John Wells for so long. So it's a little bit different because you have you just have such a camaraderie. So
we have a shorthand and we have an amazing history, but and in the best of times with John, he just calls up and said, "Hey, we got to pick up on such and such, and here's the script. Read it and let's get started." So that's like where I'm offer only.
Yes, exactly.
But since I'm not exclusive to John anymore, I have had to interview for jobs, and I've had to learn how to do that without being an arrogant dick about it, because I sort of think after 35 years, and
you should be offer only. Absolutely.
Or people should want me or not want me. Either one is fine, but they shouldn't. And I'm right for some projects and not right for others. I'm funny, as you kindly pointed out, but I'm famous for drama casting, death and dying casting.
Well, but great. But
and I haven't done a lot of comedy, although Shameless is reportedly a comedy.
Well, kind of, yes. You are really funny, but that's what makes the best for drama too. So come on, it's an extension of each other for sure.
Absolutely. Actually, there's no difference at all. It all comes from your humanity.
Yes, it is all about the humanity. Okay, so you get a script and you start going. So what does that mean? You start going. I know, but people listening don't know.
You meet with the writer creator and the director if he or she is on board. And you start to talk about the characters from a tone point of view, and you ask questions, and then out of that meeting, a breakdown is created which describes the age and gender and race and economic strata and education level. And
can I ask you something, Don? Can I just interject? Who writes that casting breakdown? Does your office write that, or does the writers write that?
It varies from show to show. On SEAL Team, the writers write them. On the John Wells shows, I write the first draft, and then they go to the writer, and they change them. And then they go to Wells, and he changes them.
Okay.
And then, of course, they go to the studio and the network, because they have to approve everything to justify their jobs.
So it's really important for the actor to read that character breakdown to get that directorial.
that's the information you're going to get before you get the material.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the filter through which you should explore the material once you get it. But you should also be, asking questions. And in this new day and age,
Mm-hmm.
not for every part, but for arcs, recurring parts, and significant one-off guest parts,
Mm-hmm.
I always ask my associates to add a note to the appointment. If you have questions or concerns, John is open to an email exchange or a telephone exchange. You can call me.
Oh, that is so incredible, because I think actors are afraid to ask questions. And I think it's good to ask questions ahead of time. I don't necessarily think it's behooves an actor to ask it during, because if that answer is totally opposite what they're preparing, it's just going to lose their power and throw them. But to be open like that, John, I never even knew that about you. So that's incredible. And I think all actors out here are thinking, oh gosh, I can't wait to meet John Levey. You're so awesome. No, it's true.
Well, thank you. But it's, again, I'm not being nice for nice sake.
No.
I hate it when John looks at uploaded emails and says, these 3 characters missed, start again. That's not fun for me.
No.
I don't enjoy have my work rejected any more than you do.
Right.
So, I'm realizing that in this COVID era, I have to be available so that I can do the thing that I do, I think maybe better than anything else I do, which is help actors change a choice, reveal themselves in a way that is going to help them get the job.
Yeah. I love that you said all that. I love that so much. My mind has so many questions to ask you. What is okay, so we have such famous casts and such famous shows, China Beach, ER. So the current shows right now that you are doing, SEAL Team, Animal Kingdom, Shameless.
Right.
Am I missing something?
No, we're doing them all at once, which normally before the pandemic, they were stretched out so that we were never doing more than 2 at a time. It's a lot of work.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So how does that work? And then so you just throw it out there instead of having in person, you just are looking at tapes now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the fortunate part is that on both Shameless and Animal Kingdom, we're shooting in what they call blocks. Mm-hmm. So they put the first 4 episodes together, and they're shooting all of the stuff that happens on sound stages in the first 10 days.
Wow.
And then they're learning more about how to deal with the COVID pandemic and all the procedures and protocols. And then they're doing all the stuff for all 4 episodes on the back lot. And then they're doing all the stuff that takes place on location.
Amazing.
So, because that's the place where we know the least about how to control the procedures and protocols. So in some ways, we started off doing 8 episodes at the same time.
Wow.
SEAL Team didn't start until we were 3 weeks into that. Mm-hmm. So that was a gift. And now we're almost finished with that first block. And the second block is only going to be 2 episodes. So it's going to get a little bit less demanding just in terms of volume.
And let me ask you this. So because of COVID, are they reducing the guest stars coming on, or are they still writing with the same
they're supposed to be
opportunities? Yes,
they're supposed to be reducing the cast, and I would love it if you would speak to your neighbor, who's my dear friend as well, because she refuses.
But I love that about Nancy, because she loves actors too. But okay, yes, but I know it makes it safer when there's less people. But so she's refusing, so that answers my question. There's still opportunity. I want actors to feel still invigorated. We are going through such a isolating time, and there's still hope. There's movement into production again. So I'm so happy to have you on to talk about that. So yes, go ahead.
Thanks. I was just going to say that then the good news is that we'll finish. We had done half of the season of Animal Kingdom, so the first block is episodes 6, 7, and 8, and then we will only have 5 to go. And then in another 6 weeks, we'll only be doing Shameless and SEAL Team. So it'll start getting a little bit, and also we'll learn
what to do
so much as we go through the process.
Well, I have to say, Tyler Perry has it right. He has a bubble. He has a safety. He takes in one show, does it, quarantines everybody, and does it again. If people could do that, it would be amazing. If they could just.
Yeah, well, that's why those of us who are Laker fans are having such a good time, because the NBA did a bubble too, and it worked.
They got it right. They got it right. And except John, I'm a Clipper fan.
Yeah,
right?
Well.
Only because
You're a loser.
Yeah.
Again.
I'm a winner. I'm a winner in my heart. Again? What? Yeah, that's true. Again. Every year. Every year. Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, listen. What kind of advice can you give to actors out there to stay strong in their career and who they are and their pursuance of this in this crazy business? I mean, me and you have known each other for so many years. When I was an actress, then we didn't we didn't talk for a while, and yet we have a soulful connection because of all of our experiences together. So anyway, I just riffed on that, but whatever, who cares? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing, and we touched on this earlier,
Yes.
is have a wide experience in life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't find yourself sitting opposite people who are exactly like you at dinner parties. Don't find yourself only operating within the sphere of your comfort or your traditions or your family life. Get out into the world. If you're going to have the audacity to be a storyteller of the human condition, you have to understand the human condition and experience the human condition. You have to be empathetic and get out there and have different experiences. You talked about reading earlier, and I mean, I think reading a wide variety of books written by people completely unlike you is crucial. I think if you've never been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City and you haven't seen the Dutch masters, you ain't lived.
Yeah.
If you haven't gotten out of your culinary comfort zone and eaten something peculiar and weird prepared by somebody who has a totally different culture than yours, you're narrowing your sphere. So I think that's crucial, because as I said earlier, you can only be as interesting as you are.
Yeah.
And the way to get interesting is to have experiences, and also to stimulate your imagination, to what if yourself into experiences that other people are having. Not to blow on embers of painful experiences in your relationships to make them bigger than they are, because that has personal consequences. But you after you've had a giant fight with your partner and you've reconciled, you can spend some time reflecting on how you felt when they said that hurtful and humiliating thing about you, or how you felt after you said that hurtful and humiliating thing to them. And you can backlog that kind of experience to make yourself a better actor. You don't have an instrument outside of yourself. So you have to nurture your instrument. And then I think you need to be prepared, and I think you need to have studied. There are some people who can just jump out of the plane and the damn parachute opens and they land exactly where they're supposed. That's raw talent, luck, maybe. Yeah. But can you do it over the long haul in different kinds of characters? Probably not, unless you have technique. And there are a million techniques. I'm sure yours is, fabulous. But as long as you speak a language that stimulates your talent, and
Yes.
your skills, uh, and know how to ask the questions that need to be asked to get to the result. I think that's the combination.
Yes, agreed. And what I'm hearing you say is it really is a combination of your personalization, your personal experiences, which I agree, combined with your imagination.
Yeah.
So it just layers to a three-dimensional kind of delivery.
And
And
I think you really have to love people to
yeah,
have the arrogance to think you should represent them in a story.
that is a good point. And you have to love yourself pretty much. But it's all about the give. Don't you think in the room it's all about giving? Because you have to honor. I'm the biggest believer because I just believe to honor the writer's word. So there's intent in that story. So it's about giving that story back instead
Yeah.
of taking. And I think what will alleviate actors' nerves and bumpering and all that is to give.
Yeah, servicing the story. You're
Yeah.
you're in service. I'm in service. I'm in the service business. That's what I do. I serve my clients to get them what they need in terms of the raw materials of people to tell their stories. I'm not there to complain about their stories or to criticize their stories. I'm not a development executive looking
Mm-hmm.
for the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the casting director looking for the solution.
What has kept you after all these years so invigorated to do this job still? What is it?
Um, my longtime partner has asked me that question every 6 weeks for 10 years. She is probably not all that happy with the answer, but um, I love actors.
Mm-hmm.
I love storytelling. I love people. I love the interaction of the process. I'm a huge believer in the process, not the result.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm more stimulated when I'm working with actors on a great piece of material than almost anything else I ever have done. I'm pretty happy in the kitchen with a bunch of great ingredients, but I think of casting as sort of the same thing as cooking.
Yeah, because you're passionate about it. It's your purpose. It's your passion and purpose mixed in. I
Yeah,
mean, I feel the same way about the work that I do. It's
yeah.
just,
And when you find something that you're good at,
hmm
um, after years of finding only things that you're sort of mediocre at, it's quite an exciting revelation to be
it,
good at
it
something.
it is really an exciting revelation. And then
Yeah.
when people respect it and you feel success from it, it's incredible. So John, how do actors get seen by you? How do they do it? Do they have to just wait through their manager and agent? Is their picture so important that it's going to pop to you? Tell us.
None of that. I mean, I do depend on my long-term relationships with certain managers and agents who
Okay.
have fed me wonderful people over the years, over the long years.
Hmm.
But I'm a 60s guy, Sherry, and so I'm sort of a vibist, not a. There are some casting directors who watch every damn television show. I couldn't do that if my life depended on me.
Hmm.
I depend on Kim and Tawny, my associates, for that because they love to watch television and film and demo reels and oh God, um, I love to make a mess
Yeah.
and get a sense and take a flyer and jump off the cliff and the way actors get seen by me is to do
Yeah.
good work and to
But
take themselves and their craft seriously and also not take themselves and their craft too seriously. It's
I know a lot of actors out there that have said, I want to meet John Levey. How do I get there to meet him? Now, of course, I can text you, but what is it? Just do you think it just rises up by doing the work, having a team?
yeah.
It just comes to you.
Yeah, I think if you merit an opportunity, if you've earned an opportunity,
Mm,
you'll likely get an opportunity. And
yeah.
if you're lazy and selfish and entitled, you likely won't get an opportunity. And if you do, it won't lead to anything.
I love you so much. I really, really do. Before we close out, and we could talk for a million hours, we sort of dealt on it, but I just want to end it with an inspiration for actors out there. What are 3 things that they can actively be doing? And I know we sort of said it with the training, but maybe something else.
Well, I think in our troubled times, being active in the social justice movement is a great way to have experiences while giving, to grow your instrument while affecting positive change, to be a full and functioning member of your community and of communities that aren't your community, I think is one thing actors should be doing. And I think they should be studying, and I think they should be having fun.
Yeah. Living their life experiences.
Yeah.
John, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm connected to you, and I really appreciate your time and everything about you. And guys, thanks for listening. And you can email my office with questions, and I'll text John and get all the answers. Stay courteously aggressive, guys. Be safe out there. Please wear your mask and have hope that we will overcome this and everything will be healthy again. John, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.